Hey GovCon family, this is Sheenapreneur, and I wanted to discuss today a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of government contracting. For those who are new to my channel, welcome. Typically what I talk about is the truth about government contracting from someone who's actually in the field and has performed government contracts at the federal level, local level, and of course, corporate and commercial level doing facility maintenance. So today I want to talk specifically about some of the good, bad, and ugly that I've experienced lately, especially as of 2022. One of the things that people don't realize with government contracting is that this is a real business. So there's gonna be a lot of good, there's gonna be a lot of turmoil, there's gonna be a lot of the same things that a regular business, whether it's residential or a product-based business, experiences. We're not exempt. As government contractors, we are not exempt from any of the things that take place when it comes to doing stuff with the government. And the government, this is a people business, they do the same thing that someone else would do if you are functioning at the residential or the commercial level. So, some of the good of being a government contractor. Of course, you could 10x your business and go from $0 to $1 million overnight, which is something that is absolutely phenomenal. And for some of us who have maybe never had a business before, or even if you had a business in the past and you were nickel and diming and you were doing your thing and hustling, you could take your business from 0 to $1 million overnight. So that is definitely one of the good things about government contracting. Another thing, you can employ people. That was something that I wanted to do when I first came into this. I want to be able to employ people. I want to be that person that gives someone a chance when no one else was giving them a chance. So I can appreciate being an employer as of now. With giving the good, and of course, that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the bad and the ugly. But as of now, I love being an employer. I love being able to give people a chance. I love being able to say, hey, yes, we are going to employ that person, even if they've had some things going on in their past. Because of course, who hasn't had something go on in their past that they need forgiveness for? Another thing that's great about being a government contractor is being able to bring your family in. For those of us who are doing this maybe for the long haul as a legacy business or building to sell, I love being able to bring my family in and say, hey, we have a legacy business going on and we are gonna build this until infinity. Now, I'm not 100% sure if my kids are gonna be the ones that take over. Whether they are or not, building to sell is always the way to go. So when you're building your business as a government contractor, it's easy to show the revenue. It's easy to show some of these large organizations and agencies that you have been performing for. And who wouldn't want to buy a business that is performing for the Department of Defense, for the Department of Energy, for USDA, for the Department of Interior, for the Veterans Affairs Hospital? Who wouldn't say, you know what? I don't want to buy that business. If it's something that someone is already doing and they have the money to purchase your business, then that is a resume like no other. Another wonderful thing about being a government contractor is the shmoney. The money can be absolutely great. As I said, you go from a zero to $1 million. But in addition to that, you have regular income coming in. So those of us who want to do other things with our money and other things with our business, you could take the money that you're getting on a regular basis and you can invest it into some other things that you want to do. Knowing that you have $10,000 coming in per week can definitely change what you can invest in and what you can do and what you can grow into. Some of us started our government contracting journey while we were still working. Nothing wrong with that. I was that person bidding on contracts while I was at work. So I totally understand that. But when you're able to break away from your job because now your business, your government contracting business has taken you to the next level, it is a wonderful feeling to say, okay, I'm making $10,000 a week. I'm paying out $5,000 a week and I have $5,000 a week to invest in myself or do whatever I want to do with my money. Another thing is bringing other people into government contracting. This is not always the most pleasant process. However, I have brought in many of my friends, associates, new friends because of government contracting into the government contracting world, whereas they may not have understood it or they didn't think that it was going to be something that they could do, especially some of those industries where it may not be clear that you can do government contracting. Great thing that they were able to come in and do government contracting based on my tutelage. Another great thing about being a government contractor is partnerships. We speak the same language, especially at the federal level. For those of us who are already operating at a federal level, you understand that there's plenty of money to go around. There's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to go around between DOD and all the other federal agencies. And then in addition to that, there's money at the state level that we can all share. So it's not something where you need to be cutthroat. You know, no one needs to go above anyone else. The partnerships are absolutely fabulous. And I have made many friends and enemies, but many friends based on being a federal contractor and a local contractor, because we can join forces and make a whole bunch more money. Now, getting into the bad. One of the things that is really bad about government contracting, I'll say more on the state and local side of government contracting, is the slow pay. Slow pay can actually take you out of business. So one of the things that you need to make sure you do is understand the terms of your contract with that agency and what the penalties are if they are paying you late. Getting paid late is a regular thing in my life, in my business, unfortunately. Now, luckily, I have enough contracts that I am servicing where I'm able to sustain when an agency is paying late. That is not ideal. On the federal level, it's a little less strenuous, but if anyone who's working at the local level, I am not saying that it's always slow pay, because I do have agencies that pay me every 2 weeks. I have agencies that pay me every week on the local side, and then I have some who choose whenever they want to pay. And that is not a good thing. That is a very bad thing. The slow pay is very stressful when it comes to government contracting. Another bad thing, ruining relationships. I have tried to bring other people into my company to do different services, to do different projects, and it went horribly wrong, or it went exceptionally well. However, our relationship went horribly wrong. I have lost many friends in this process, because when someone is your friend, they say they do business, but they don't really do business. You find out really quickly who is really doing this and how they work under pressure. In my industry, janitorial, facility maintenance, it is not the easiest sometimes, especially janitorial. Everyone thinks that janitorial is easy. It's not, because it's extremely subjective, and that's a topic for a whole nother video. But when people say that they can do it, but then they don't do it the way you need them to do it, or they're stressed, or any other factors come up, that makes a huge difference in how they perform. And if they don't perform correctly, guess what? Mama ain't happy, and it's not happening. So those are the things that you have to think about when you're trying to bring your friends and family into your government contracting business. They may be great individuals, they may be great humans. That doesn't mean that they're great business people. And that doesn't mean that you need to partner with them. Sometimes you have to keep that relationship what it was and not try to bring it into your government contracting business. Another bad thing is time. When you're in government contracting, you almost have to be on all the time, but compared to some other industries, maybe not. Because one thing I realized and that I love about government contracting is I'm working at the same time they are working. It's basically Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, not including holidays, not including weekends. And during the holidays, forget it. Those people are off. They off. They are not at work. So holidays is like my favorite time, even though I don't really celebrate the holidays. It's just interesting that it pretty much shuts down. So you're not going to get a whole lot of traffic. But then again, if you don't have contracts that are regularly serviced, you're not getting any new contracts either. So December, forget it, especially for federal. So with that being said, you're going to be working like 9 to 5. However, whenever something comes up for one of your contracts or something goes wrong, then you're springing to action almost at a moment's notice. And I am extremely structured. I am not spontaneous. I do not like things to come at me left, right, and every which way. So that can be stressful for you if you have anything else you have to do during the day. Sometimes you have to react to something immediately, depending on what it is. And that can be something from a bid to a contract that is pending to an actual contract that you are servicing. Another bad thing is this is the government. So they work 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 4. Sometimes you may not get the answer to your question until they come back to work. That can be a problem in many different ways. In addition to that, because people go on vacation, they may not be at work to pay you. Believe it or not, people will go on vacation and not pay you. That is just absolutely insane to me. But again, this is a people business, so you have to make sure that you understand how your agency works, what their payment terms are. So now I'm gonna get into the ugly. To keep from this video going on and on and on, the ugly is super ugly. It's like super duper 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 ugly. So I'm gonna give you very specific examples that happened within my company, especially within the last 12 months. For example, one of my state contracts, it's actually a janitorial contract. They had an accounts payable department that was apparently at one point 4 people who are paying all the vendors. That department went down to 2 people. So guess what that means? That means that your invoice is going to be paid late. So when your invoice is paid late, guess what? That is a trickle effect for all the other things that you have to pay for. My payroll is exceptional every 2 weeks. So it's combined with all of the contracts that I currently service. So it's not just for Delaware. However, when things are coming in and you have to pay, I don't want to hear that Susie and Bob quit. So now, since there's only 2 people, that means that you cannot pay me. But that is a very, very ugly truth when it comes to government contracting. Another thing, when you have a contract and you have to actually provide, for example, it's a janitorial contract and you have to provide supplies for that location. People in those offices that are not your employees will steal your stuff. Like, they will steal. They don't care. They don't understand. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They don't understand that you as a vendor are providing those services, are providing those products, and that they do not belong to the building. You are paying out of your pocket with the money that the government is paying you, which essentially comes out of your profit, when these people who work in these facilities are stealing your paper towels, your toilet tissue, your wipes. Like, it is really, really serious. It's incredible. And they may not think they're stealing. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't think that they're stealing. Some of them do. But the other ones who are like, oh, there's stuff in here, I'm just going to use it. No, it's only supposed to be for the locations that they're specifically placed in the bathroom, in the break room, and things like that. So that is a very, very ugly truth within my industry. Another thing that is ugly, ugly, super ugly is clearances. I have a contract, a local contract, where the individuals who work on the contract, even if they're working outside, they are working outside of a building. They don't go inside at all. They need an actual background check clearance. Now, that is the standard for that particular agency. However, I think it should be case by case, because if my people are not going inside like what's up? Like, they can't even literally walk in without being buzzed in and without being questioned. So if they're outside, why do they need clearance? But I digress. So that is a challenge because, again, people business. If the person who does the badges is not there, guess what? That means that my people cannot get a clearance in order to perform the service. So if they cannot perform the service, then we cannot move forward. If we cannot move forward, you complain about us not doing the job, and then you're not giving an alternative of how my people can get a background check. So a lot of the things that they have in place, some of these agencies, make absolutely no sense. And this particular agency, I feel like, should know better because it's a school system. But I mean, you know, it is what it is. So that's a very, very ugly truth when it comes to contracting. Making sure that you have people that can even pass the background check. So, for example, say that they already started working because they have this agency has a very short deadline of when they need this service done. Our people already started working because you need it done really, really quickly. And then halfway through, you're like, oh my gosh, they need a clearance. Okay, so the person goes and does their clearance and the background check. Come to find out, they didn't rob 50 houses. So now that person can't work on it. So now what? Sheena needs to figure out how that person's going to be replaced with this specialty skill. So that is a very, very ugly truth when it comes to government contracting. Another super, super ugly thing is underpricing yourself. Oh my goodness, I can't express this enough. I have underpriced myself several times, especially at the beginning, because you want to get the contract, but then you're like, oh, I can get it, and then I'll just have multiple contracts and then just try to squeeze a little tiny bit of profit out of there. That is not the right answer. There are many other people out here who say, oh yeah, I'm making all this profit. And that's very, very true. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And at the end of the day, you end up making $20 and you have all this stress. But you have to make sure that you are not underpricing yourself, because it could be bad really, really quickly, especially if you have all these plans in place and then the plan goes south. Another ugly truth about government contracting is subcontractors. Personally, I've never been a sub. I've always been a prime on every single contract. However, when you're relying on subcontractors and when you're working with subcontractors and they do not have your best interest in mind, or even hell, their own best interest in mind, it could be disastrous. I have had probably 6 specific examples where a subcontractor completely screwed over my contract. One, I'll use this one example of janitorial, where the person was working for me on one project. It was very, very easy. And it was such a low-key project, I didn't really know how bad or good she was doing. I did not do my own checkup to make sure that she was doing everything she was supposed to do, because it was smooth. I didn't get any complaints from the agency. So then I started giving her other work, even residential work, because I don't really do residential anymore, but here and there I was. And I sent her to a couple of people that I know house to clean. Boom, no issues. She starts to do a large, huge project with a new agency for me. And as time was going on with this one project, I realized, man, I'm getting a lot of complaints, and it doesn't seem as smooth as it typically is for me and the other subcontractors that I've used in the past. And long story short, come to find out, she was absolute trash, like the worst of the worst of the worst. So that was after putting her on another project before I really understood what was happening, because I needed multiple contractors. So this contract that I had been servicing for a couple of years, I put her on there. She did horribly, terrible, trash, and then quit. So now she quit, and I have no one else to help me with this contract. So I had to do a whole lot of innovation in order to get through that. So then I started reflecting back to the previous one where I was getting a lot of complaints, and she actually sabotaged that contract completely to where that agency doesn't give me any more work, because it was like an IDIQ on the state level, and they no longer want to work with my company. And that makes you very, very angry beyond words. And then I reached back to the residential clients that I had sent this person to. Come to find out, she was trash with them too. So that's a very, very, very ugly truth when it comes to being a government contractor. You have to make sure that you understand what your subs are doing. Because just because people don't complain doesn't mean that everything is all good. I don't even use the term no news is good news anymore, because that is not true. Sometimes it's just it's bubbling up, and then when you get it, it's like blah. So another ugly truth is being terminated. So being terminated is a scary word. However, depending on how you are terminated with your contract will determine how bad this bleeding will be. For example, I had a contract I was recently terminated for. It was termination for convenience, which is not a death sentence. It basically just means let's split ways and keep it moving, and no harm, no foul. Typically speaking, except if they write something bad in your CPARs, but that's a topic for a whole nother video. But this was a federal contract, termination for convenience, but then they changed their mind. And so you're going through this roller coaster of emotions. Like, I was glad that it was a termination for convenience, because the contract, it was just all bad. And especially right now in 2022 with the inflation and the wage increase twice within one quarter, essentially, or within 2 quarters, no one can predict that the wage determination is going to go up. No one knows that the wage is going to go from $11 to $15 to $22 all within 4 months. So that was one of the things that made me have a hard time with this particular contract. And then when inflation and the letter from the Pentagon, I'm like, look, this is not going to work. However, we will do what we need to do if we have to do. But you're not federal government, you are not supposed to be giving me something where you know I'm losing money. That does not help me as a small business. What's the point of having a small business set aside if you're not helping the small business. So with that being said, termination for convenience, they changed their mind. So I'm going through a roller coaster of, should I continue with this? It's a good contract, but it's terribly inconvenient for so many reasons. And so it's ugly because you have to make a real grown-up business decision with how you're going to handle this and evaluate all the pros and cons. So you have to be really, really seasoned to understand what you should do. And even if you're not seasoned, I have an exceptionally wonderful attorney who is extremely well-versed in federal contract law and all those things. So it makes it easy for him to like dissect whatever I'm saying and give me some ideas and then, give me the best advice. Even if it's something that I may not want to hear, he's like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is probably the best thing that you should do. And he gives me some examples of some other situations that he's had to deal with. So it's ugly, but it's a part of the business process as well as understanding how the federal government works and even the local government works. A lot of people come to me and will say, I want to get into government contract, and they have no business experience. I would strongly advise against that because it's a business at the end of the day. It's the business first. The government is just your client. So you have to make a lot of decisions that you typically wouldn't make doing your side hustle. No disrespect to side hustles because I'm all for it, but just saying that it's a lot different than you just starting something because you want to do government contracting when you have to deal with really, really high level issues that could actually ruin you. You can go to jail and you can be extremely sad and upset when things are not going the way that they need to go. And the last ugly, ugly, ugly truth that you have to deal with sometimes when it comes to being a federal or state contractor is not understanding the scope or evaluating the possibilities. You can get a contract. I'm going to give two examples of one contract that I evaluated recently and of a friend who explained one of his situations to me. So I had a friend who is in landscaping and facilities just like I am. And he said that he had one of his representatives go out to a state that he had never performed in, and it was for landscaping. And so, it's not funny. So what had happened was that person was like, oh yeah, here goes the price. So boom, they submit the bid, they win the contract. This friend goes out to this location and realizes that the grass cutting is like on the steepest hill in the entire earth. And so that completely changes how you will be cutting the grass. That's something that seems like it's not even a thought, especially if you're not familiar with the industry and you don't have someone go out that actually is familiar with how that process works. And he's like, this is a steep hill. A regular lawnmower cannot even cut this. It would have to be the hand joints. It would have to be like the edgers. So that takes an exceptionally longer period of time to cut the grass than just a riding lawnmower. So that significantly changes the price. However, it's too late. They already won, they already been awarded, and they are expected to execute based on what they said. My example is there was a contract that I was looking at with some friends, and it was a Virgin Islands. We were ready. We were ready to bid on this contract. We were so excited, and it seemed like something that was going to be great. All it was clearing the walking road and the driving road for a public forest, a national forest. And so after we evaluated this thing and went through all of the pricing factors, even though it's a beautiful location, it's on the beach or near the beach. I mean, like, it seemed like it was going to be breezy. But then when you started breaking down all the factors, it ended up being probably a couple of $100s every other month to split between me and my friends. So we realized that that's not going to work. So really, really evaluating your solicitations is extremely important. Like every single thing that could be possible. For example, we have to fly down there. So is this contract even going to cover us flying down there on a regular basis, or even twice a year or 3 times a year, once a quarter? Is this even going to cover that cost? So that's an ugly, ugly, ugly truth that you have to consider when you are bidding. Everyone's going to make mistakes on their bids. There's going to be certain aspects that's going to pop up that you're not even going to know about. You're not going to consider, that you're not even going to know, or the contracting office is not going to know. That doesn't mean that you can't do a change order. That doesn't mean that it can't be adjusted. However, if you have one of those agencies and those contracting officers who are not willing to adjust, that could be the detriment of you and your company. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, my name is Sheenapreneur. We talk about government contracting, the good, the bad, the ugly, and some tips on how to be a better contractor. And our course is coming soon called GovCon for Winners. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. So it really helps the algorithms for the channel. Thank you for watching. See you next time.